How does it feel when you are surrounded by family members who all speak and communicate in a language that is known to you? You feel comfortable, right? Well, imagine being forced into an environment with people who speak in a foreign language where you can't understand them. How does this affect the way that you connect to those around you? The nature of language, culture, and identity all contribute to the way we create connections and disconnections. The use of language can affirm, ignore, reveal, challenge, and disrupt our assumptions and beliefs, either creating connections or disconnecting them. Language can reflect and shape an individual's identity as well as their collective identity. In the poem This Is Where It Begins, by contemporary Philippine-Australian writer and academic Merlinda Bobis, it is evident throughout her poem that the language used communicates connections and disconnections. Her poem is about her experience of writing and how her childhood influences, such as her parents, grandparents, and other writers before her, shaped her identity. The title, This Is Where It Begins, already jumps out at me. It suggests that she is trying to establish and identify where her story begins or when her own identity started to form and develop. Bobis opens her poem with Once Upon a Time, which is commonly used in the fairy tale beginning, which indicates this theme of storytelling. The stories used in the poem have been passed down from generation to generation and one culture to another. This connects Bobis to her cultural heritage and her family ties. When she moved to Australia, she highlighted that stories are often retold over generations as a way of connecting to one's past, family ties, ancestors, and cultural values through the quote, "We tell it over and over again." The first two stanzas of her poem are written in two different languages, Bicol and Filipino. This creates a disconnection between the audience and the author as it's a foreign language, unfamiliar to the audience. This could be reflected as Bobis herself feels disconnected from the foreign country of Australia as she is a migrant. She also integrates two other languages, English and Spanish. In many ways, this is a celebration of language, cultural diversity, and her identity. As an audience, we can experience the world through various cultural lenses and languages. This shows the connections of the different cultural heritages she has been exposed to that have influenced her self-identity. The phrase, "under my skin," is repeated throughout the poem 4 times. The use of figurative language suggests that these family stories become part of her identity, as if a physical feature of her body. She carries the legacy of her grandparents and cultural heritage through retelling these stories. The poem is dedicated to her family members to acknowledge their influence in shaping her personal identity. And so this poem is for my father, mother, grandmother, grandfather. She also acknowledges other writers and composers who have shared a part of themselves with the rest of the world, and all the storytellers, the conjurers who came before us. She highlights the important role they have in capturing the human experience. They made us shiver also over faith, over tenderness. The use of third person, they, refers to those previous writers. The inclusive language is also used us to involve the reader of the poem who is invited to reflect on how they have been influenced by storytelling. The emotive words shiver and tenderness draw emphasis to the way in which stories engage our emotions and allow us to empathize and connect to her. Bobis then uses terms ojos, labios, and manos, which translates to eyes, lips, and hands. These physical attributes highlight the importance of storytelling as an important form of verbal and non-verbal communication skills, which are required and are equally effective in engaging the audience. Eyes, lips, hands conjoined, the umbilical cord restored. Again, the motif of physical attributes is repeated, tied with her identity. A metaphor is used, the umbilical cord restored, to show how storytelling can connect and heal as a society. It is evident that her connection with her writing is so strong because she's always had her family members and other authors to influence her. Language reflects and shapes an individual's identity as well as their collective identity through communicating and identifying those connections and disconnections.